Welcome everyone to another In Conversation, and this one may just be the most critical for you all, the friends of Credabl. My name is Ed and I'm back in the hot seat to help steer us through this conversation with three of the industry's biggest hitters. We're going to run a 30-minute session today, and the focus is on what happens behind the scenes. When I submit my application for practice finance, then what? As it turns out, it's a well-oiled machine with some of the brightest brains in the business, pairing with some powerful technology that takes that application on its journey. It's this combination that makes Credabl such an efficient place to do business. Before we get started, a reminder from me that this is a conversation, and the live event Q&A section on the right-hand side of your screen is there for you to submit your questions to the team. Click the button with a couple of speech bubbles and question mark to activate the panel if it's not there already. Android users, there will be a slight audio delay when you type into that Q&A section, but that audio will return. So my colleague Dina should be there typing some comments, so feel free to follow her lead at any point and throw in any questions that you like, and I'll put them to the team at the end in that Q&A. So who are we hearing from today? First up, we welcome back our CEO, Stafford Hamilton. Stafford will give some insight into our business model and what stands us apart. It's well worth a listen. Then it's on to Glenn Stewart, our head of credit. There are strong claims that Glenn has approved more medical finance deals than any other human in Australia due to his longevity in the market. He's making a rare appearance in front of the cameras, so enjoy the time. Finally, Sandy Constanti joins us. There isn't much to say about Sandy that hasn't already been said. She is quite simply a pillar of the medical finance industry, and she will help you know what questions to ask and why. Once the team have wrapped up, I'll be back to moderate the Q&A, so please keep those conversations coming in using the live event panel on that right-hand side. Okay, then Stafford, I'm passing over to you. Take it away.
Thanks, Ed. It's great to be here again with everybody. Look, I guess from our perspective, the world of banking has been moving really quickly. Lately, non-bank financing has been a bit of a revolution, and the options available in the market have increased along with it. Personally, I've worked with some of Australia's biggest institutions, banks and non-banks, before we launched Credabl. And I guess I noticed that what was missing was, whilst claiming to have specialist businesses, the banking industry, by and large, was offering their services in a very homogenous way. With that in mind, Credabl is here to serve the healthcare community. We aim to be a lean, tech-centric financier. We want to listen to the profession's needs and deliver precise, consistent, reliable solutions that speak to your specific businesses. For us, that doesn't mean doing everything online or everything offline, which is unusual at the moment. It means that we're on a journey with the medical profession and with you that began 25 years ago, in fact, even a little bit more. And we're determined as a business to run alongside you, as we feel partners do, as your home, work and practice life evolves over time. So I guess I get asked quite a lot, how do we do that? Well, for us, there's a few things, but firstly, we aren't owned by a bank, and that means, we carry a level of independence that's quite unusual. Our independence means we can share all of the solutions that the market has to offer with our clients and with you. And in my view, working with a bank is a bit like trying to place a dental implant without a cone beam image or diagnose pneumonia without a chest x-ray. It's fair to say you might still be okay, but the question you really need to ask is, what are you missing out on? What can't you see? And so from our view, having a complete view helps you avoid possible complications and produces the best outcome. As everybody's fond of saying, you don't know what you don't know. So I think it makes sense to chat to us and let us show you everything that's out there and let the team, do their best work. Obviously, for those that have tuned in before, the offering includes, the full range of lending products, home loans, equipment loans, car loans, commercial property, overdrafts, etc. So whether you're looking to build a new practice, buy an existing practice, finance a new car, to get to the new practice that you've just bought, the team's there to make sure it happens without you losing your mind in the process, which happens, a little bit with the stress and trauma of dealing with some that are out there. I also get asked quite a lot how we fund our loans, because it's clear, obviously, that we aren't taking deposits from consumers. We're not a deposit-taking institution. We have a funding platform in the form of a warehouse facility, which is what is known in banking circles as institutional funding. And the aggregation of all of those loans into our warehouse eventually leads to us issuing securitized notes in the public markets. And that's something that's very common. In fact, it's something that the banks also undertake in order to manage their loan funding. It's also something our team's been using as a mechanism for nearly 2 decades to run and fund our businesses, so it's something we're very familiar with. And the investors in our warehouse include a large ASX investment management firm, a Big Four Australian bank, and other institutional investors. And because of this, we're able to deliver innovative lending solutions at speed. But I'm going to leave Glenn to talk about that. I think the great thing about this type of funding is it's very efficient, since all of the participants are institutions that have great visibility over their cash and their cash flow, and they know what they want from an investment. So it means Credabl as a business runs a very efficient capital process. Think of it this way: every bank you work with has to keep a certain amount of cash on hand all the time to meet the possibility that you randomly walk into a branch, or these days log on to internet banking, and you need to withdraw cash or you need to pay someone. With imperfect information, the banks, they can really only forecast what you might do, what you might need to pay for. And it means that they have to hold cash with no return on that cash in order to meet these eventualities. And inevitably, they need to hold more cash aside because they obviously can't be quite sure what their needs are going to be. So they want to err on the side of caution. For us, the great thing about our system is institutions, or if you like to think of them that way, our depositors, in a sense, have very transparent needs with us, and they're not suddenly going to need money for other purposes. So it means Credabl has a very efficient system. It means that we can make a return on more of the money that we source, and it leads to increasing capital efficiency and a great cost-efficient solution for the clients that we deal with. Sometimes, I guess, a loan from our balance sheet might not be the right solution for you. In fact, we often recommend people stick with the deal they have if it's the best solution. It's about doing what's right in each individual circumstance. And our team has been doing this for more than 25 years. So we're very patient as anything. And if you have a good structure, we'll probably just keep working with you until an opportunity arises at some point in the future. For us, it's a long-term relationship, and we're not into taking short-term decisions. I guess you'd contrast this stereotypically with the bank experience our clients share with us every day. And very often when they go back to their bank for something, the person they dealt with already moved on to their next role, and they're back to square one, explaining who they are and what you need. And our clients don't really suffer that with Credabl. It saves them time and means they're able to talk to someone who knows them well and who knows how their business works and functions. So our team's a bit more of an advisory in their dealings with clients. And in the event that another financier in the market has a strong appetite for a particular type of loan, which can lead to some unusual offers, our team will be able to show you that offer and compare and contrast it to the other things that are available in the market. And it happens more often than you think. Banks and financiers manage their balance sheets and plug holes in their book in areas where they're underweight in certain loan categories all the time. And that's why you see, today financier X offers an offer and it's withdrawn, but in a month's time, financier B offers it. So as a result, we've worked to make our services even more holistic and convenient. We've included the ability to submit applications online in a few minutes. And we've obviously allows us to provide a wider range of loan offerings than before. And so our goal is to be there wherever it is and however you want. If it's phone, if it's email, if it's chat, online applications, integrations directly into your accounting and banking software. Obviously, just to put the little asterisk there, it's only one time only, and obviously always with your permission. But it means that we can get information from you very easily and frictionlessly. And the other way that we talk, obviously, in COVID times, is a little unusual now, but we have a good old-fashioned face-to-face meeting. So it's really for us about empowering our clients to deal with us in the way they want to choose rather than telling them how to do it. It's not all about technology and products. So while robots have got their place and products to satisfy the need, the personal connection for us is critical. And I'm proud that we've gathered some of the brightest minds across the medical professional financing industry to help us expand our services and give medical and dental professionals and vets a place to turn when they're looking for a next level partnership. And I'm always quick to call it a partnership because I think that relationships without a connection and understanding are just transactional. Credabl is a business, of course, but our real joy, as you'll hear from Sandy, I'm sure when she speaks, comes from helping you to achieve your ideal outcome. And our entire business has been designed to propel your career, the career of medical professionals, and those of you that are looking to build your practice to new heights, because we know it's possible and we believe that we can help you. So I guess that's a bit of an intro from me, Ed. Back to you.
Thank you, Stafford. Whilst I'm not much of a betting man, if I was, there'll be some questions for you in our Q&A later on. So now it's time for Glenn. The screen is all yours, Glenn.
Thanks, Ed. Hi, everyone. I'm really excited to be here. As Leanne, our CFO, mentioned in our last webinar, this is a really wonderful opportunity for those of us that are more behind the scenes at Credabl to be able to engage directly with our clients. I've been working with the medical industry for over 10 years now, and I get huge job satisfaction from supporting an industry that does so much for our whole community, particularly over the last number of months. It's been humbling to see the work being done by people on the front line during COVID, so thank you. I thought it might be interesting today for me to share a bit of an insight into our credit philosophy, how that informs Credabl's risk appetite, so essentially the types of loans we're prepared to approve, and ultimately how that translates into supporting you, our clients, by potentially getting a deal done with less documentation, less stress, or perhaps on terms that aren't standard in the market. To begin with, Credabl is a financier for medical practitioners. That's it. We don't lend to any other industry, and our people have been doing that for 25 years. This means that we can dedicate 100% of our time to becoming experts in this industry. We're out talking to doctors, dentists, and vets every day, listening to what's going on in their lives, and also to what they need from a provider like us. I've worked for traditional lenders in the past, and having seen both, there are aspects of the medical profession that are very different to other professions. If we look at something as basic as employment stability, it's one of the first things you look at as a lender. How long has this person been with their employer? And longer normally equals more stable. But if you're a doctor, you tend to change employers a lot, and you might move across multiple practices. If you put that against a traditional framework, it can present challenges. But if you know the medical industry, you realize that this movement is actually a good thing. It's a critical way for practitioners to gain a broad range of experience, and it's a pathway for most to setting up their own practice. So we work to understand the nuances of your industry and then create our policies around that. Just recently, we helped a dental client purchase their practice premises. Now, this client was really struggling out in the market to get finance because he hadn't completed his most recent tax returns. When we sat down with him to understand his story, he had been let down by his accountant, and as a result had changed to a new one. But it takes time for a new accountant to get up to speed on your finances. Now, when we heard this story wasn't new to us. We'd heard it before. We know that doctors are time poor, and so they rely heavily on their advisors. And unfortunately, there are times when those advisors can let them down. So we try to think creatively. We understand the typical employment structures of dentists and how they go about earning their living. So we asked him to give us his last 12 months bank statements so we could see his income being credited to his account. We got his ATO statement so we could see that he was making regular payments to the ATO. And he also had some savings as a buffer if there was an unexpected tax bill. So by doing that, we could get the deal done for him and he could secure his premises. It was a really great outcome. If I can give you one more client story, we had a new GP client who wanted to sell her practice premises that she already owned into a newly established self-managed super fund. Many of you will be familiar with self-managed super funds. They've become very popular over the last number of years. And some of you may already own your practice premises in an SMSF structure. Now, when the Banking Royal Commission issued its findings last year, we saw a lot of lenders pulling out of the SMSF space, so that now there are a much smaller number of providers. So this was proving a challenge for our client. Her existing lender was no longer offering the product, and many other lenders required a large deposit contribution. Now, when we think about the career of a doctor, dentist, or vet, the practice premises can really be a great nest egg. Often after retirement, the practice itself is sold, but the property is retained as an income generating asset. So it makes complete sense if you want to hold this asset within the super fund environment. So that's why it's always been important for us to continue offering this product, even with the heightened regulation. We're confident in that offering because we know we're doing the right thing by our clients and that this is a proven retirement strategy for them. I guess the more I chat about our credit philosophy, it's clear that it's really all about knowing our clients And I think that's the best type of lending you can do. When you know your clients really well, you can provide them with the best possible solutions. So hopefully that gives you a very quick insight into how the Credabl credit machine works. I'll pass you now back to Ed, who will introduce you to our next speaker.
Thank you, Glenn. I'll share with you all that Glenn is a figure that we all listen to intently at Credabl, so I hope you enjoyed that insight. Please remember to keep those questions coming in and feel free to put your name in there too. So last but by no means least, it's time to hear from Sandy. Good evening to you, Sandy.
Good evening, Ed. Thank you, Ed, Glenn, Stafford, and hi everyone. Thank you for joining us in these informative sessions. My name is Sandy Constanti and my passion is finance. I will be speaking to you from a sales perspective. I have spent the last 25 years assisting medical professionals with their financial requirements. What this means is if a doctor, a dentist or a vet wants a car, a home loan, buy a practice, buy equipment, buy their practice premises, or in or out of super, basically any financial needs that they have, you can be assured that here at Credabl we will find the best financial solution. We are unique as we have the ability to fund in-house, as Stafford mentioned, and also have the access to other lenders in the market. We have direct access to credit, Glenn, that you just heard from, that we can talk about your requirements. This results in very speedy approvals, and we can also push some boundaries to get you over the line, as he mentioned. You ask, why should I deal with you and not any other bank? I say, when you have a need for a specialist, you're not going to see just any doctor. You will ask around and find the best person in the specialty you require. Finance is exactly the same. You say it's just a loan. How can it be different? Each type of a loan is deemed different for tax purposes. Hence, at the end of the day, you will want the loan that is going to give you maximum benefits and the best tax deductibility. A good financier will always liaise with your accountant to find the best solution for your situation. Every client's situation is different. One structure may suit one client, but may not be the right one for another client. Hence, it is best to involve the accountant early. Personally, I take pride in developing my education around the various tax requirements so that I can guide you and your accountant. My aim is to find the most cost-effective solution for you and try and save you money. This involves asking the right questions, looking at the full picture and not just what is the immediate requirement. Once you have the full picture of the financial situation, only then you can map out the best solutions. We try and meet every one of our clients face to face. Coronavirus has made it a little difficult for us these days. We take the time to get to know you. We take the time to meet our clients' families. We are interested in how they work and spend their time. This is why we're unique. We make ourselves available to you well after the day is over and most weekends for any questions that you may have. We take interest in your continued education. We try and support as many associations, conferences and governing bodies as we can. We attend your educational lectures and we take interest in your work. We want to know everything about the equipment you use so that we're able to understand your needs. You can only understand your culture and needs when you immerse yourself in it. There is no better joy to see a client that we have helped do well in their business and in their life journey. I have clients that I have looked after since they graduated, bought their first home, bought their practice, had kids, bought a bigger house, upgraded, expanded their business. It's like a child on a life journey. Forming these strong bonds with our clients is very crucial to us. This is one of our greatest pleasures. I hope to get to do this for as long as life affords me. Thank you. Back to you, Ed.
Thank you, Sandy. I see that your popularity shows no signs of slowing as there's plenty of questions coming in for you, so don't be going anywhere. Okay, on to those questions then. Please do continue to share any that you have, and I'll get to as many as I can over the next 5 or so minutes. Straight off the bat, we're over to Glenn, in fact. Glenn, can I still get a new loan approved if I have deferred the repayments on my existing loan?
That's a great question, Ed, and it's one we're getting asked a lot right now. Listen, the answer is going to vary depending on your lender. They'll each have their own policy around that. Many of them are not going to be comfortable advancing you a new loan if you're not making the repayments on your existing loans. So I'd highly recommend that this is one of the questions you ask your lender before entering into any deferral. In terms of Credabl's view, we're still considering new loan applications for clients in this situation. You know, there are really a lot of good deals out there at the moment from industry suppliers. And when you combine that with the instant asset write-off, it still makes good business sense for clients. It's going to come down to working through your individual circumstances, but generally, if it's good for your business, we should be able to support you. Back to you, Ed.
Thank you, Glenn. And I can see Stafford's going to add something to that.
Thanks, Ed. I'm just sitting here smiling because I think Sandy and I have worked together for 20 years at this point, something like that. And it still makes me smile when I hear her talk with such joy about helping people through the journey. But the thing that I wanted to add to what Glenn was saying is that I've certainly noticed a bit of an emerging trend in the sense that more financiers are beginning to ask the question, despite, you know, talking about it not impacting on credit and not being something reported on in Equifax searches or VADA, etc. I have not started to notice financiers asking the question, have you applied for hardship with any other financier? So I think it's something to watch out for. And I think you just need to make sure that you understand who you're talking to, what the consequences are. And as Glenn says, we're definitely not factoring that into our decision making. A transaction that is a good transaction will still proceed with us even in that situation. But I have noticed there's a bit of an emerging trend there. I don't know if Sandy's noticed it as well.
Yes, definitely. Yes, definitely. We have seen that a lot of banks are refusing deals, especially if you have applied for financial hardship.
Thank you both. Sandy, while you're there, actually, I've got one for you. I think you're the best person to answer this. As a medico, why would I deal with Credabl and not any other bank? Off you go.
I say, have you tried calling your bank lately? Especially at a time that suits you, which is about 6 or 7 o'clock because you finished your shift, and then you call the bank, you speak to a machine, eventually you may speak to a person, and then they say, come in and see us. Well, that's never going to happen because you are at odd shifts. At Credabl, we make ourselves available at any time to speak to a real person. We understand your needs, be commercial, be residential. We will come to you at a time that's suitable to you. We're service-based, the same way that you are. Thank you. Anyone else wants to add anything? Feel free. Thank you.
I might use some of that in our next marketing campaign, Sandy. Thank you very much. I've actually got another one for Glenn that's come in. Glenn, if we are currently getting relief from our bank for the next 6 months, will that cause a problem if wishing to refinance with Credabl?
Thanks, Ed. If the arrangement that you're in with your bank is as a direct result of COVID, then no, it won't. We've all heard the word unprecedented a lot lately, but that's what the situation is. So a lot of people are in the same boat. We're staying very close to the market, in particular to restrictions as they are being put in place and lifted. So we understand exactly how this is impacting our clients. If you can show us that you were making your loan repayments prior to COVID, then we're happy to look at a refinance for you. I hope that answers.
Sounds good. Thank you. Got a question that's come in here, and I think I'm going to throw it to Stafford. Question is, hi, with the current climate, have your benchmarks changed for practice or property buying as things have changed beyond our control?
Thanks, Ed. The simple answer to that question is no. Our team's been committed to this space for a long time, and we have absolute faith in the medical community as we've always had. We know there's been some disruption to some people's trading, or seeing patients. And obviously we're cognizant of that when we get into assessing a loan. Glenn will definitely take that into account. But it's really to make sure that we don't put somebody in a difficult position. It's not, we don't have a rule or a benchmark. We haven't changed any of those from before. We haven't changed our LVRs. We haven't changed the way we look at loans or service loans. For us, it's very much business as usual. All we do is layer over, you know, dentists, for example, have only recently returned to trading full time, you know, without the level of restrictions that we did see sort of in April. So we'll obviously factor that in, but it's really about making sure that doesn't put somebody in a negative position. We haven't changed any of our benchmarks or our criteria.
Thank you, Stafford. I've got another one probably for Sandy, actually. Sandy, is there an advantage to having my commercial and residential loans with the one provider?
Thanks, Ed. I'd say sometimes yes and sometimes no. On one hand, having your commercial and residential with one bank may hinder your borrowing power. On the other one, it might work to your advantage because you're able to leverage your loan to value ratios. A lot of the doctors work under complex structures, so sometimes banks do not understand this. They will just look at your taxable income and assess your borrowing power just on that income. You have worked so hard to minimize your tax and does not work to your favor. In most cases, banks do not know how to read your financials. At Credabl, we can mitigate these factors, and we have the different books that we fund commercial and a different book that we fund the residential. We take into consideration your total income and how you distribute through your various entities. In most cases, you get a better result with Credabl. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandy. I've got another one here for Glenn, I think, most probably. If I defer my payments, will it affect my ability to borrow in the future?
There's definitely a trend to these questions, Ed, but I guess that's not surprising given the current environment. It shouldn't impact your ability to borrow. The type of financial assistance that people have been seeking isn't a default on your loan. So in theory, it shouldn't impact your credit file or your credit score, but it's also another very important question to ask your lender before you do enter into any of these arrangements.
Thank you, Glenn. So we've got a couple more questions coming in and we've got a couple more minutes. That's good. Stafford, I'm going to throw this one to you from the floor. Can you please speak to how the finance market is to new businesses? We're looking to finance equipment. However, the business is new and therefore without a lot of trading history.
Thanks, Ed. This is one probably you could ask Glenn in his sleep. I'm pretty sure if you tell him any professional, he'll be able to tell you a map of their income for the coming 10 years. So look, for us, it's very simple. We've been backing practices and practitioners getting into business for, as I said, 20 plus years. We're able to look at the profession that you have, the demographics of your area, the competition, etc., and work with you to build a business plan, to build a cash flow forecast, and to help you get started. And we've got a product very specifically designed for that. Anybody that's looking at setting up a new business knows you have a lot of people to pay. So that can be equipment from multiple suppliers, a builder with progress payments. So there can be a lot of pieces that need to come together to start the new practice. And we've got a product that allows us to make progress payments to each of those. And we do that to help people get into practice all the time. So new business is not an issue for us. We'll help you map out how you can get to success.
Success, what a wonderful word to finish on, because that's our time is up. So thank you all so much for your time and your questions. Credit is such an important part of our and for your business. So it's a pleasure to hear from the team this evening. If you have any more questions or messages, please continue to use the live Q&A section for the next short while, or maybe try our live chat on the website. We're always about. Stafford, Glenn, Sandy, thank you so much for your time as well. And if you'd like to stream any of our previous conversations, then we have a growing library of fantastic content for you. They're all on the website now, where all of our blogs live. We hope you enjoyed the conversation and look forward to the next one. Have a great rest of the week and see you all soon.